Rest in peace to an amazing, amazing woman. So underrated, so underappreciated, considering she was a trailblazer and a door opener. She kicked down so many doors. If you knew and know music, and if you are a student of music and the history of it, you would know as it relates to Black artists crossing over into other charts and other genres and other audiences, she was one of the first. It started with Dionne Warwick. Dionne Warwick, then the Supremes and Diana Ross, then Aretha, and then Roberta. Those ladies in particular were the ones that were constantly at the top of the R&B and pop charts and adult contemporary charts. They crossed so many boundaries. And so as we say goodbye to the amazing Roberta Flack, I want to give her roses. I always tried to do it when she was alive because I always knew of her greatness and the doors that she opened. Here's the thing. If it wasn't for women like Roberta, there would be no Whitney. There would be no Anita Baker. There would be no Janet. There would be no Beyonce and Mariah and Mary J. Blige and all of the women, Brandy and Monica, Aaliyah, all of the women that have been able to successfully have hits on the pop charts and win Grammys in non-Black R&B soul categories. There would be none of that if it wasn't for women like Dionne, like the Supremes, like Aretha, like Roberta Flack. Her voice was unmistakable. Her tone was breathtaking yet hauntingly beautiful. She was intentional with her notes. She was intentional with creating a mood with her voice. Oh, God. Ooh. I don't know why I'm crying, but I'm crying. I had to go inside a conference room. I'm back at work. And I had taken a couple of days off because I had the flu. But, I'm crying because it feels like all of my superheroes are gone. There's a few of them left, yes, they're still alive, but all of my childhood is gone. You know, I was just having a conversation with a bunch of friends about this yesterday, how all of the things that I loved, all the places that I used to love going to, all of the artists that I loved and idolized have all gone. Roberta Flack was a huge part of my childhood because her music was played in my home all the time. She was a beautiful woman. And like Aretha, she was one of the first to really embrace her black roots, her African roots, and just be Afrocentric on a world stage. I'm so grateful for that. There was women like that did so much for civil rights because they forced the world to see our humanity. They forced the world to see us and our beauty, our culture. She had her hair in an afro. She had beautiful African wraps. Beautiful silk African printed wraps. She was just so freaking beautiful. And her voice, she was black excellence before that term became a thing. She was black excellence. She was one of the best musicians on the face of the earth. She was one of the first producers, female producers in the industry. Her life should be celebrated and remembered. She was such a powerful and tremendous talent, and a tremendous presence. You know, we all love her solo. Okay, we love her solo work, but we love the stuff that she did as a duet with Donny Hathaway, and then later on with Peabo Bryson. Most people don't realize that she was one of the main ones that pushed Donny Hathaway out front. And tried to get him. He wrote and produced stuff. They were both students at Howard University. And she remembered him and got him and pushed him forward and had him write a song on her first album. And then she started singing with him. His first Grammy, really his only Grammy while he was alive, was with her as a duet when they did Where's the Love. Years later, she was the one that pushed Luther Vandross out and forced him to record and be his own solo artist. And it worked because instantly Luther Vandross blew up, like literally out the box, when he released his first solo album in 1981. I have a lot of respect for her. I have a lot of respect for her for a lot of reasons, but mainly because I know her life a little bit, and I know how hard it was. She celebrated LGBT people at a time when it wasn't in vogue. She championed the rights for all people simultaneously. The civil rights movement, the women's lib movement, the LGBT, the gay movement. She championed all of those rights simultaneously. She should be remembered. I respect her for that. I respect her for still pushing and trying to make sure that Donny Hathaway's legacy was not forgotten. Because what people don't know is that she had to identify his body at the morgue. January 14th, 1979. He died I think it was January 13th he died January 13th, 1979, and I think she had to, he died, yeah, I think she identified his body the early morning hours of January. She had to identify his body. He passed away, he committed unaliving, like late January 13th, which was a Saturday, I believe. Late January 13th, 1979, like 11 o'clock. Around 11 o'clock, they saw him jump off of the Essex House Hotel in Midtown Manhattan, right facing Central Park, right across the street from Central Park. Well, it was really Central Park South. She had to identify his body. I can't imagine that level of trauma. Because she was the last person to see him alive. What the story was, they were recording the classic, legendary song Back Together Again. which it's hard for me to listen to it, even though it's an amazing song. And Luther Vandross and Gwen Guthrie and Tawatha from Mtume, and all of those session singers did an amazing job of pulling that together, because it really is an unfinished song, but it wound up being a huge, huge record that was Grammy nominated and everything. What happened was Donny Hathaway had, for years prior, maybe 5 years prior, had been away in insane asylums and mental health hospitals. He was sick. He was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia, which at that time in the 70s the medication was primitive at best. He had to take 30 pills twice a day. And so he was away in a hospital, and so he wasn't recording. They did The Closer I Get to You in 1977, which was a huge, huge record. A huge record. And it went all the way up to number 2 on the pop charts. It got nominated for a Grammy, but he could not attend because he had already taken his own life. Early 1979, January, they decided they were going to do an album full of duets like they had done a few years prior, thanks to the success of The Closer I Get to You. And they were in the studio. They finished one song, You Are My Heaven, which was written by Stevie Wonder. And then they were recording the next song, which was Back Together Again, which everyone knows. You know the song. I'm not going to sing it. And what happened was, he was sick that day. And they got 2 verses. They got everything that you hear in that song is all they were able to get out of him that day. Literally, when it's haunting for me to listen to that song, because to know that he passed away literally hours within recording those vocals. What happened was he did a verse. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, he did the first verse twice, which is why they were able to repeat it in the second verse. Oh, no. He did 2 verses. That's wrong. He did 2 verses, and he did part of a chorus and part of the bridge. And at some point in the recording, he screamed and ran out of the studio and was huddled in a corner in the bathroom. And he felt that white people were hooking his brain up to machines and stealing his music. I'm sure it was trauma from his time in the mental health hospital and the mental facilities that he was in. And so they stopped the session. They left. Roberta took Donnie home with her to have dinner. They had dinner. He was playing her piano, and about maybe 9 o'clock, 9:30, 10 o'clock, she drops him off. About 10 o'clock, she drops him off at the Essex House Hotel. She says goodbye to him. He tells her, I want some of that coconut bread. If you can have your maid, your housekeeper, make me some, that'll be great. And he went back to his room and removed the safety window guard from the window. And some people say he was singing that cold January night in 1979. He was singing and possibly fell out, or he jumped. One of the side effects, the fatal side effects to being a paranoid schizophrenic is that you take your life. Eventually, a lot of them did back then. And so people just assumed, the police ruled that it was a self-unaliving. But it was devastating. Imagine you see your friend, your business partner and friend and love. You see him at 9 o'clock. You drop him off at 10 o'clock. And then the next time you see him is in pieces at a morgue. I respect her because I know that trauma. that trauma, I can't imagine. All I would be able to see is that image of him if I was her. So I know that I understand why she had to take a couple of years. She didn't really promote that album. She couldn't. Even though she had huge songs, 3 huge songs from that album. She couldn't promote it. She went into hiding for a few years. You know? Not really. I can't say that because she still toured. But she didn't want to promote that album, and I understand it. She toured, and around that time, she actually had a backup singer by the name of Luther Vandross in her band and was pushing him forward, was supporting him. You know, but she kind of laid low for a few years, and then she kind of reemerged in like she had like 1 or 2 hits, I think, making love. I'm just making love, I know. Then she would do songs here and there, but it wasn't, and I don't think she did any albums until 83. So it's like 4 years. But I respect her. I'm so devastated that she's transitioned. I know that she had been ill and been handicapped for a few years now. But my heart breaks. You know, this is a great woman that should be celebrated. She was the first black woman, I believe, the first black person, definitely the first black woman to win Record of the Year at the Grammys. Pop record. That's a pop category. She won it twice, back to back, consecutively, which had not been done. Okay? She deserves to be remembered for being a trailblazing black artist, but a trailblazing woman. She was one of the first black women producers. She was so amazing. I implore everyone, please go back and just rediscover or discover her music. She was what art is. She was an artist. There's a song called Ballad of the Sad Young Men that was about gay men and the gay revolution, the gay and trans revolution of the late 60s. She wasn't calling trans people men, but back then, they didn't call trans women women. They called them transvestites. So, you know, I don't think she was, you know, but I understand it. I understand the time, and that you have to understand that for context. You know, they didn't consider trans women. They just knew that they thought that we were transvestites. And, you know, the title is The Sad Young Man. The Ballad of the Sad Young Man. It's a beautiful, beautiful song. And you could feel the empathy that she had for the community. Okay? I would imagine the song was mainly about gay men, but I'm sure a lot of trans people back then felt something about that song. That song was for us, for the community. I'm not going to get wrapped in the word sad young man. She's singing the song about the experience of queer people in this country. She's saying about black liberation, about women liberation, about gay and trans liberation, way before it was in vogue to do so. I love this woman, and I'm so sad that she's passed away. She was such a powerful trailblazer, and I hate that she's gone so underappreciated for the doors that she kicked open for all these bastards that are so ungrateful. They don't acknowledge her. They don't even know the history and who opened what door for whom. May she rest in peace. Thank you, Miss Flack. You are a goddess. You are a goddess. You were such a light. You were so brilliant. Thank you. Rest in peace.